877. Nagaraj Annaiah, selling homes smarter, faster, and for more.
Hello, Bay Area, and welcome to the Real Estate Show. I'm your host, Nagaraj Annaiah, your friendly neighborhood realtor. We are live every Friday at 6:30 p.m. and Sunday at 12:30 p.m. So mark your calendars. Ever dreamt of owning your business space, a restaurant, a daycare, gas stations, office space? Today's show is all about making those dreams of reality. We are diving into the world of commercial real estate and how to finance your next big venture. To help us navigate this exciting topic, we have a special guest joining us today. Please welcome Haley Luangpraseuth, Vice President and SBA Business Development Officer at Cal Bank of Trust. Hal is here to share her expertise on securing loans for commercial properties. Welcome to the show, Hal.
Hi, thanks. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, I'm also excited to have you here. But listeners, before we get started, if you have any questions during the show, don't hesitate to give us a call. Our studio line numbers are 408-912-5038. And we are discussing all about commercial real estate. And if you have any questions on residential real estate also, you can give me a call. Our studio line numbers, let me repeat again, 408-912-5038. Helly, my first question is, can we buy a commercial real estate with a 0% financing? Is it option is available for us?
Unfortunately not. The SBA program, which is SBA 7A, SBA 504, and even the conventional requires a minimum what the terminology used is called injection, but really it's the layman term is considered a down payment. So for SBA 7A or SBA 504, the bank normally requires a minimum of 10% down. For conventional, it's 20% down.
That's great, right? You can still buy a commercial with a 10% down.
Absolutely.
That's a great. I think a lot of listeners might not be even aware that you can buy even a commercial real estate with a 10% financing. But listeners, if you have any questions on a commercial real estate and you want to buy and you're interested to own a restaurant, and if you want to own a daycare, if you want to own a gas stations and you don't know where to start, you can give us a call. Our studio line numbers are 408-912-5038. And I'm Nagaraj Annaiah, the Bay Area Realtor. I'm talking to Haley from CalBT. She's a vice president, and so this is a time where if you have all your questions on real estate will be answered. So the minimum is 10% is what you need, right? But do you need that space to be owner occupied, or how is it?
So the SBA program is designed to be owner occupied only. It is not designed for investor loans or people with too high of a net worth. The idea of the SBA program is to allow people to start their business and expand their business and grow the business so they can continue to feed into the economy.
So if somebody wants to, basically they're interested to start a restaurant, okay, or they want to buy a restaurant space. So how do they get started? Like, do they need 10%, and do they need to have an experience to get started?
Absolutely.
To qualify for the loan programs.
Sure. So for specifically for restaurants, they consider that a cautionary industry. So in the industries, cautionary industry would be restaurants. Let me see, assisted living facility, right?
I think that's a great thing, assisted living space. Yeah.
Yeah. So gas stations, car washes, things like that. So because restaurants are considered cautionary industry, the bank would typically require at least 15% down.
Okay.
And definitely industry experience.
Okay. I think so. Then even the commercial real estates like assistant living care, I think that's a great thing, right? For example, a lot of people thinks they want to buy rental properties. Rental properties are restricted only this much what you can get, especially in the residentials. But assisted living cares are the great assets or like great rental incomes or like great returns when you're doing your businesses. So listeners, if you're interested to know more about this, give us a call. Our studio line numbers are 408-912-5038. And I'm myself, Nagaraj, and today I'm talking all about a commercial real estate. I'm talking with Haley, and basically she's a vice president of a Cal BT, and we're trying to understand what are the loan programs available so that if somebody wants to buy a commercial real estate, how do they go for it? Our studio line numbers are 408-912-5038. So Haley, like you said, what are the three different loan options do we have, like with a 10% down?
So with the 10% down, you can only go with the two loan programs, which is SBA 7A and SBA 504. The SBA 7A has a more variety of use, meaning you can use it for business acquisitions, partner buyouts, equipment purchases, working capital, and for purchase of refis, purchase of commercial real estate and refinances as well, and debt refinance as well.
Oh, okay. That's so SBA 50. So listeners, we are talking about the how do we buy a businesses? How do we get a commercial spaces? So commercial space we can buy as little as a 10% down. If you're occupying that business or like you're basically running that business, that's what we are talking about. And in that there is a three different options available, or like two different options for 10% down. That's SBA 504 and SBA 7A.
Correct.
Correct.
But if you are leasing, so going back to the restaurant, if you're actually going to lease, which most restaurants do, if you're going to lease, then it would fall into the category of SBA 7A. So that is more if you're going to lease the space.
Okay.
But if you're buying, go ahead.
So there are two types, like basically if somebody wants to start a business, they can still qualify for SBA loan programs, correct? For example, not even buying a real estate, but if they can start a business.
For our bank, we typically require the definition of a startup is at least 1.5 years of being in an operation. So we will not finance a true startup.
Oh, but if somebody wants to, let's assume like they want to start a daycare business or a preschool and they're running it from a home now, correct? But they want to expand their business.
Absolutely. So that means they already have an existing business that's been in operations for 1.5 to 2 years. And now if they want to either, expand, right? So it would be considered an expansion loan, and that would fit into an SBA 7A if they're going to lease the space, or they can purchase the property, which would still fall under either SBA 7A or 504.
Yeah, and for example, if they find some real estate, like basically some places in around Santa Clara or around in a Bay Area, right, where they can run basically where they can occupy a 49%. It's a minimum is a 51% is a owner occupied, correct?
Correct. The key is 51%.
So listeners, if you're interested to buy a commercial real estate and you would like to know, for example, you have some income and you have some startups and you want to buy it for yourself instead of renting out. A lot of people I see that Haley, like rentals are so expensive here,
Absolutely. Here too.
15,000, 20,000 for any commercial spaces, right? Like even 10,000 is a minimum because it's a per square footage what commercial spaces goes for a $4 per square footage, $5 per square footage. Instead of keep paying for a rent,
absolutely,
why can't they buy the space for themselves, right? So that's what we're discussing all about, listeners. Like if you want to buy a space where you can basically, you might be a dentist, okay, and you're renting out a place for yourself, but you want to, how can you own this space for yourself and basically pay for it? Maybe in 25 years you can own the place also. And one more good thing is like basically you can rent out the remaining 49%.
Exactly.
So I think you recently helped one of my client, especially in Santa Clara, for them to buy a 1.5 million property, correct? Like basically it was a great sports bar place and they were able to purchase it with a 10% down.
Correct. And then they were going to use that for, part of that was going to be for a dance studio. And then the other portion was going to be used as an office space. So the key to being SBA eligible is you having to occupy 51% or more. And that 49% could be leased to a third party.
Yeah, so listeners, if you're interested to know more about it, and if you have any questions on the real estate, it might be a commercial real estate, or if it might be a residential real estate, or if you're a first-time home buyer, or you already have some assets and you want to diversify your portfolio, maybe your stocks are more so that you want to diversify your portfolio, give us a call. Our studio line numbers are 408-912-5038. Myself, Nagaraj Annaiah, the Bay Area Realtor. I'm talking to Haley on the commercial real estate aspects, especially how do you qualify for the commercial loans, because kind of in a commercials are kind of very hard to do the loans, right, Haley? Like especially like the qualifications are too.
Yes, definitely. It's time consuming, and I definitely encourage people to talk to their, business development officer like myself to get pre-qualified before you start even looking for your property.
Okay, I think let's take one step. I think before even discussing about the different options of the SBA, right, or like loan options, what all documents you need to somebody to for you to qualify for a loan programs, or like which loan programs they fit in?
So, in order for me to pre-qualify anybody, and again, I just want to emphasize that the pre-qualification process is complimentary. It's free. It's something that I offer to all my clients, new or existing. So what I typically need is last 3 years of personal financial statements, last 3 years of business tax returns, and business debt service. It's called business debt schedule, and a personal financial statement.
So basically, if somebody is running a business, so you need to look at the last 3 returns, or like maybe minimum 2 years of returns, how they're running it. Okay, is that income is sufficient enough to pay for the mortgages? And the
Correct.
second thing is they have their good assets, because recently what the client, what you help them is he had a great assets, right? Like basically he had a good stock options, and on top of it his business was doing good. So that's why like you look at the last 2 years or 3 years of a tax returns, how the business is done, and the profit and loss.
Absolutely. Yeah. I factor all of that in, but also, that's one thing to also bring up is that there's no credits being run at the pre-qualification process. So that's the reason why, I need the prospective buyer to fill out their personal financial statement form so that I know exactly what debts to count and what assets they actually have. And debts is, of course, is the most critical portion, because I don't have a copy of their credit reports.
Yeah, see, because reason we want to discuss about the commercial real estate, right? Maybe if somebody wants to buy hotels, correct, and they want to run the business now, right? Especially for the hotel industry, for example, if they want to buy, correct. So if they had some experience, for example, they already one chain of one restaurant or one hotel they have, if they want to add one more, it's a great thing, especially SBA loan programs, especially what you guys are offering.
Yes, absolutely. Again, it would fit into any industry, whether it's medical, restaurants. Again, it's all just
All the after school programs, correct, and so all the educational institutes, like a lot of might be doing the robotics classes or some of the classes, and they don't know, instead of renting it out, buy asset for themselves always. Correct.
yes.
Listeners, you are listening to Realtor Nagaraj Annaiah, and I'm talking to Haley on the commercial real estate. And if you have any questions on the commercial real estate or the residential real estate, don't hesitate. Give us a call. Our studio line numbers are 408-912-5038. So Haley, like let's take a step back and let's talk about. We were discussing about SBA 504, SBA 7A, and conventional. So there are three loan programs if somebody wants to buy a commercial real estate.
Correct.
504 and a 7A needs, SBA 7A needs a 10% down payment, and the
Correct.
conventional loan program needs a 20% down payment.
It's 20% or more. Yes.
So can you basically give the differences, like rates differences, which one is better for if somebody wants to buy a commercial real estate?
So the best rate if you're going to buy commercial real estate that is over $1 million and over would be the SBA 504 for you, even though it is going to be a bit longer process. But however, if you have enough equity, liquidity, then the conventional loan might be the right program for you, because the conventional loan is 20% down, but all decisions are made in-house. Whereas the SBA 504, we have to work with what they call a certified development company, which is a part of the SBA. So, as a borrower, you would have to work with two different lenders, two different payments.
Okay. Two different payments, but how are the rates wise? SBA 504, 7A, and conventional. All these three loan programs, are there any rate differences and prepayment penalties?
Absolutely. So again, the best program for lower fees, lower rates is SBA 504 and the conventional. So,
Okay.
but for those SBA 504 and conventional, right now the current rate is in the high six.
That's
Um,
that's really
that's
good,
not
I think. Yeah, that's really
exactly.
good. It's more of a residential rate right now, what I'm noticing it.
Exactly.
Correct.
So they're already paying on a 30-year on residential, right? You're already at 7.
It's close to for 30-year loan programs, but right now we are like arm rates are close to 6.375, but whatever you guys are offering are 6.875, 6.75, depending on the how the market does, which rates are really good. Listeners, if you want to buy anything on the commercial real estate, this is a time you can basically talk to us, and you can give us a call. Our studio line numbers are 408-912-5038. Myself, Nagaraj Annaiah, the Bay Area realtor, talking to Haley on the commercial real estate aspects. Because if somebody wants to buy gas stations and somebody wants to buy hotels or somebody wants to buy restaurants, how do you go for it? Because it's commercials are the toughest to handle, because even there are commercial real estates, even complete handling are totally different, right? The loans, everything is totally different.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, it's similar. It's not even there's no comparison to residential. I mean, the only similarities is we do, your credit score does get factored in, but that's not going to be the determining factor of whether or not you're going to get approved. And I just wanted to go back, Naga, regarding the rate on SBA 7A.
Correct, yeah.
So SBA 7A is going to be a little bit higher because we base our rate on prime. And so for SBA 7A on real estate purchases, that's going to be closer to in the high 8s. So it's almost
Okay.
almost 2%. Yeah, almost 2% difference.
Okay. How about the conventional rates?
It would be in the high 6.
I see. So only difference, listeners, see there are three options when you want to buy a commercial real estate. One is a SBA 504, SBA 7E, and one more is a conventional. The conventional needs a 20% down payment, but if you have a just 10% down, you can still buy a real estate, commercial real estate with SBA 504, where the rates are really good. But only thing the catch with SBA 504 is prepayment penalties. Anywhere in the residential, you guys might not have heard about prepayment penalties, because you can always refinance anytime what you want. But in case of SBA 504s, there are prepayment penalties are there, right, Haley?
Yes, that's correct. So SBA 504 has the longer prepayment penalty as opposed to SBA 7A, which only has 3 years, which is 5% on the first year, 3% on the second, 1% on the third, and then thereafter there's no prepayment penalty. So that's the reason why I always ask my borrower, what is your strategy? Is it going to be long term, or are you going to possibly sell it within the next 5 years?
Yeah, I see. Recently, one of my client, right, like which you help them out to buy for even for the after daycare programs, right? Like my client wanted to do an after daycare programs, and you were able to do it within a 15% down payment.
Correct.
See, strategy of the commercial real estate buying is basically you need to look at the location what you're buying in. Okay, maybe in the first right now you can think it as in a place where you can occupy it and run the business, but maybe in that longer goal, like 10 to a 15 years term, maybe that location is such that you can basically you can build kind of an combined residential and a commercial involved, like commercial mixed use, it's called. Basically, you need to look at the lots if somebody was interested to buy a property, right? They need to look at the lot actually. What is the lot usage? Is it like basically can we do a kind of an expansion in the near futures? That's what they need to be, especially looking in the commercial real estate, because nowadays all we are noticing is a commercial mixed use where like you can have a commercials in the downstairs, residentials in the top. It's a great assets where you can build it, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I'm glad you brought that up because that's, that mixed use is eligible as well under the SBA 504. I've actually financed something of that property type in LA because that's very, those creative office space. That's very common in the LA area.
I think let's talk about that more. So in the commercial mixed use, correct? Like for example, commercial in the downstairs, residential in the upstairs, correct? So can the borrower occupy the residential on the top and,
Yes.
and rent out the commercial? No need to run the
Yes.
business.
No, you have to be its
Some
owner
part of the
occupied.
business.
Correct. It would be, so something like those creative office space would be ideal for attorneys, right? Architects,
Yeah.
people, people that are kind of, either a one-man shop or just, with 2 or 3 staff.
See, listeners, did you guys even aware that you can buy a commercial mixed use? Okay, so if you have any questions, give us a call. We have still 4 minutes left on the show, and if you're interested to buy anything on the commercial or the residential, our studio line numbers are 408-912-5038. And if might be some of the terms are new to us, new to you, new for first time if you're listening to it. All these recordings I'll be uploading on my YouTube channel, Nagaraj Annaiah. Go back and check once again, and if you have any questions, also you can give me a call back later also. So going back on the 3 options what we had, SBA 504, SBA 7A, and conventional. Okay, the differences were the 20% down, and the differences were the prepayment penalties. And the third one was the balloon payment. What is that balloon? What do you mean
So
by
the balloon so the balloon payment does not apply to SBA 504 or SBA 7A. Balloon payments applies for the conventional, and that's one of, you can say, depending again your strategy. The balloon payment means that at the end of the year, at the end of the 10-year term, that means you would have to either pay the bank off or refinance in order to continue to keep that loan.
Okay. One important question. Can somebody qualify, if somebody is an H1B, can they qualify for all these 3 options of the loan options?
Yeah, unfortunately not. They would have to be a permanent resident. And then we do run, what they call, we would run, a search to make sure, to validate that.
So basically only a green card or citizens can qualify for this loan programs if somebody wants to buy a commercial real estate.
Yes.
If the H1B still wants to, H1B folks, if they still want to buy, then they need to be doing a regular financing, which is a 30 to 35% down payments. So we'll talk about that in the future, about how they can qualify for that. Correct. But what's the process of commercial real estate buying? It is like, how is it in nutshell?
So in a nutshell, again, it's very important to make sure you have your team ready. And when I say team, primarily, you need to make sure to reach out to your accountant to let them know that you are looking to get commercial financing, because that way it could be, they are prepared to be able to prepare your financial statements that we need in order to run even the pre-qualification process.
Yeah. And for example, if somebody wants to buy something, is small places for themselves, right? But there are a lot of standalone buildings are available. Correct.
Yes.
And the standalone buildings are great for somebody who wants to buy businesses for themselves. So, listeners, we are running out of our time, but we'll talk more on the coming sessions about commercial real estate. So, Haley, thanks for joining in so much today. And if somebody wants to reach out, what's the best way to connect with you? They can reach out to me.
Yes, you can. Anybody who's interested in SBA financing or conventional loan, please reach out to Naga. He would have my full contact information. And one last item I wanted to allow people to know is that we are going to be running a promotion on SBA 504 and conventional starting June 3rd. So I'll be providing that information and flyer to Naga, and then he'll be able to distribute that information over.
Yeah, thank you, Haley, so much. Listeners, thank you so much for listening to it. All these recordings I'll be uploading onto my YouTube channel. Do subscribe and watch out for it. And thank you so much, and have a wonderful day. And if you want to reach out to me, go to nagarajhomes.com, click on the WhatsApp icon, and it's easy to connect. Thank you so much. Thank you, Haley.
Thank you. Take care.